Well, Mattel has launched its first ever autistic Barbie doll, created with guidance from the autistic community to reflect common ways autistic people may experience, process, and communicate with the world around them. Barbie has partnered with South African actress, singer, and autism advocate Nandi Madida, alongside her 6-year-old daughter, Nefertiti Madida. And to show more about this historic launch, we are joined by Nandi in studio. What an awesome moment.
Right?
This is something so special.
Absolutely. It's been such a riveting experience thus far. And what a glorious morning it is. First of all, you look amazing.
Oh, well, look at you. Thank you so much.
But we're celebrating so much. An autistic Barbie doll. Can you imagine?
No, I can't. Because had you spoken to myself many, many years ago, when I would sit and look at a Barbie doll that was lily white with blonde hair and the most perfect figure and blue eyes, and I'd look at this thing and think, wow, I wonder if one day I can look like that. And I realized that I would never look like that, and that did never ever represented me. So Barbie went into the corner. But now look how much it's changed.
Look at the progress where everyone feels included, you know, and what a time to be alive. And you're right, we all remember the blonde hair, the blue eyes, the very skinny figure, and how they've just been so intentional. There has been so much progress where everyone can feel seen. And now you're having a kid who may be neurodivergent and seeing themselves here as a Barbie doll, an autistic Barbie doll, which I think is so important because children love to play.
So talk to us about this. How did you hear about it? I mean, how they got hold of you? Obviously, there's the relationship, obviously, with your daughter.
Of course.
And that's the big thing, this beautiful young girl that we're seeing up there looking like mommy. And as you said, as
bit of daddy's
Zayt is in there, we're not going to leave him out of it. But talk to us about how it all started.
Well, it was lovely. Look, I'm a big advocate for autism. And for those who know me will know that I'm very big on that. And so it was just a natural synergy. They did approach me. I am private about my kids, but when there is something meaningful that I know will change how people view certain things, I think it's important, even for my daughter's legacy as well, to pride herself of being autistic. And so we agreed, of course, we spoke about how this would look, you know, and for me it was important that autism is represented the right way as well, to educate people the right way as well. But it's been such a beautiful journey with Mattel as well. They've been incredible. There was an international photographer who was so good with my daughter, and she loved to pose. That's her favorite thing. And she even says, I'm a Barbie girl, you know, so she had such a great time. We're going to go into it. I know you want to ask, but do you see the little fidgets and tools there in the doll? Listen.
I zoomed, I'm only seeing it now in the packaging, but I was looking at it online. So for those of you that are looking at it, I mean, I can tell you very briefly the appearance, and then you're going to tell me the use of everything. Obviously the headphones, that's a big thing. There's a fidget spinner there as well. And then there's one other thing. What am I missing?
Yes, it's the AAC device.
There we go. Okay, so let's talk. The headphones, I mean, we know this as the noise, the sensitivity to noise.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about this.
And you're absolutely right. I'm actually really impressed. From a sensory perspective, obviously a lot of kids have auditory processing, you know, disorder, and that's sensitivity just to sound as well. So those headphones are used for a lot of autistic kids. I know my daughter has one as well, and the fact that they've included it, and it looks so cute as well. And like you said, the fidget spinner as well, to regulate a kid, especially in terms of their nervous system, is absolutely incredible. But then we look at the AAC device, and that's not an iPad per se, but just a way they can communicate, which is incredible. So if a kid, you know, maybe pre-verbal or minimally verbal, or feeling overwhelmed sometimes, because language sometimes is hard to come up from a motor planning perspective for an autistic kid. If they're feeling overwhelmed, they use an AAC device to communicate. But this is also for your neurotypical kids, so your kids who are also not necessarily neurodivergent or on the spectrum. They can learn more about this. They can learn more about what it is to be autistic and empathize and be more sensitive, but also just to celebrate neurodivergency.
So I want to ask you that personal question, because I know what it's like when I've given my daughter a doll that she's just like, I love this, this is so cool, and she's played with it because she thinks it's nice. But what was Nefertiti's reaction when she first saw this doll and then suddenly realized, this is like me?
Absolutely.
What was her reaction?
Just delighted, elated. That's why she keeps saying, I'm a Barbie girl. She's also excited about seeing that photo as well, because it all made sense now to her that, wow, this is actually a really big moment. But I think something also incredible, my son is so proud of my daughter. He even says at school, sister's autistic, and he was really proud, you know, of seeing this doll and seeing his sister shine in this way. And that's what's so beautiful. The kids see it. They love celebrating one another through play.
I do love that. And you know, just coincidentally, I knew nothing about this, in fact, until we heard this interview coming up. And then I was like, this is fantastic. I was doing some Christmas shopping in December, and I was going through the rows of Toys R Us, and I must admit I've been out of it for a bit because my kids are not into the Toys R Us scene anymore. They're not the toy store. They're more... the older they get, the more expensive they get, I've realized. But having said that, I was shopping for my little nieces and nephews who are very young, and I came down the Barbie aisle, and there was a Barbie in a wheelchair. And I was like, no, hang on, wait, this is something I've never seen. I didn't know this was happening. And there was a whole sort of series of differently abled people that now have their own Barbie doll. And now autism. This is phenomenal.
Really and truly, as I said in the beginning of this interview, what a time to be alive. We never imagined this within our lifetime as well. And I'm so glad I get to witness it as well. I'm so glad that my daughter gets to be a part of such, but also just for any autistic child as well to see themselves, you know, and just the intentionality to include all kids is important. It's long overdue, but here we are at least, and it's been done, and we get to experience such. So to any parent out there, whether your kid is autistic or not, please do enjoy the doll. Go get it, you know. It's a teachable moment as well. Educate your kids about what it is to be autistic.
That's important, because I want to touch on that as well, because as much as it's wonderful for a young girl such as Nefertiti to see herself as a doll and to understand, you know, oh my goodness, so Barbie also has these problems. But I think what's important is the lack of understanding in society, and something like this is actually an education tool as well. Absolutely. So from your perspective, how do you think this is going to change and shift perspectives?
Oh, in so many ways. Just understanding what autistic kids go through. And of course, it's a huge spectrum. So no kid is the same, and that's important to say. But also that autism doesn't have a look, and that's important to emphasize. And people experience autism in many different ways as well. And I think to educate people in that light, I mean, if you look at the doll, it's so much fun, but there's so much, there's a lot there. There's a story about this incredible doll. And of course, there's different types of dolls there. We've just used that one form. But it's beautiful to see that kids will be asking the right questions and will be learning. But most importantly, as I said, through play. So it's fun, but they'll be understanding. And parents will also understand what it means. And so when they see an autistic kid out there, they'll understand, oh, well, remember that doll? Well, then we can reference that, and that's what this means. And also for an autistic child to not to have to explain themselves too much, because there is representation in that way.
I'm glad that you spoke about the different spectrums, because, you know, this isn't representative of every autistic child, and we have to understand that. So perhaps you want to talk a little bit more about that and the understanding of the spectrums of autistic people.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's you get milder autistic kids or people in general, and people who are more severely on the spectrum and severely affected. And I think especially the severely affected people on the spectrum, I'd love to shed a light on them in particular, because sometimes I feel like they are ignored. We do speak about the Silicon Valleys and, you know, the people who are, I guess, more mildly on the spectrum. But it's important to speak about the severely affected kids on the spectrum. And why that is because we need to care for them, love them, include all our kiddos and all our human beings on the spectrum as well. And I think there's a tendency sometimes to just glamorize a certain spectrum, you know, but we need to celebrate everyone and all their challenges, because everyone goes through their challenges as well, no matter where you are on the spectrum. But I think it's imperative to celebrate every single person, no matter where they are on the spectrum as well.
Amazing. I mean, I believe that there's even a Down syndrome Barbie doll.
Yes, there is. That was launched recently.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I mean, this is incredible stuff. I really, I'm blown away with what Mattel are actually doing in terms of representation. And for me, what's important is also the message of kindness. You know, kindness, tolerance, inclusion.
Oh, yes.
And I think that this is, we're feeling it more and more and more. And if this is the direction we need to go in, so be it. Because I do think that kindness and inclusion needs to start from a very young age.
Oh, yes, so well said. And for me personally, as a mother, you can imagine it was deeply emotional seeing this doll and just being a part of the journey as well, and seeing my daughter be a part of the journey. Because as you said, we need to spread more kindness and awareness as well, and information as well. And like I said, look, I'm glad we get to witness it now. It's long overdue, but here we are.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, to ensure that kids are more educated, teachers are more educated, parents are more educated, the system, the education system as well. We've got a long way to go. There's a lot, even from a schooling system perspective, there's a lot of work to do. But I'm just glad to be part of the journey, and I'll always use my voice to advocate for our autistic people.
Yeah, and it's so... I remember doing a broadcast from a school, and it was, you know, very much so for autistic children.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, when you talk about the spectrum, I know exactly what you're talking about, because there were some that were just so functional and everything was great, and then there were others that, you know, where,
challenges
oh man, and what parents go through.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we don't speak about that. You know, I see how happy you are that you can give a doll to your child that she can relate to, but as a parent of children that, you know, that are raising neurodivergent children, what is it like for you?
Yes. Well,
What is it like for you?
That's a great question. No day is the same, and I think most parents who have kids who are neurodivergent can relate to that as well. You're trying to regulate your kid as much as possible. But I'd like to also speak about your parents who have severely autistic kids, because you did bring it up as well. It is a journey, and a very difficult one as well. You know, they speak of letterboarding, AAC, you know, having to think about, if I'm no longer on this earth, what does that look like? How, will my kid be fine? Will they be independent? Or if not, what do I do? And these are really serious questions to ask. And that's why I say, for me, my biggest passion as well is for a lot of parents to get that support. It also is just very expensive, having a kid who's neurodivergent as well.
And finding a school.
Finding a school, finding the therapies as well, having the right food as well, you know, the right medication as well. And sleep is a big thing for kids.
I know it's the routine and the sudden movements, and it's, you break that routine. I mean, I know nothing. I know literally the cream on the surface, and I know how much work goes into this.
Absolutely.
So
one step at a time.
It is one day, one step at a time.
day.
Well, there she is, little Barbie. She's an autistic, the first ever.
Yes.
Are they different ones?
First,
this is
yes,
not
there are different ones.
Sorry, guys, I'm
But
stealing it out the shot.
How incredible, how cute does she
being
look?
a
First
thief, I wanna
autistic dog.
turn her
You can
around
see
and
the
look at her.
sensory headphones, the fidget there, as you said, the AAC device.
That's so
It looks
cool.
like the iPad.
How's that, guys?
What a
Isn't that
time
not
to be
just
alive.
beautiful? And I can see on the side here, there's a whole whack of different ones, you know, different kinds of Barbies. I'm going to turn it to the side so you can actually see what we were talking about. There's one in a wheelchair, and there's Down syndrome Barbie, and a whole bunch of different other representative Barbies, which is groundbreaking.
Right.
I don't understand, you know, wow, in our time. Listen, enjoy, and just send her all our love. Give her a big hug and kiss, and tell her she's even more famous than she has been before. She's back up there, our gorgeous little Nefertiti. Nandi, thank you for coming, thank you for talking to us. So, a beautiful story to end this Monday edition of Morning Live, and Nandi Madida celebrating her daughter's role in the launch of the very first autistic Barbie, which is out now, actually. I saw it. It's for sale. So, yeah, enjoy if you want to get one. I got to say goodbye. SK, how amazing is this?
It certainly is. And little Nefertiti actually looks like both Nandi and Zakes. She looks like both of them
She really does.
at the same time. But, you know, that aside, I must say, you know, just a big shout out and much love to parents of autistic children and differently able children, because we can't even imagine the struggle that they go through on a daily basis. So big ups to you.